Welcome back. I hope you enjoyed that short break. It's your host, OG Susano, joined by my co-caster, Mick, here, ready to bring you the second matchup for tonight's coverage. We've got Clemson Esports from Clemson University going up against Georgia Southern versus Georgia Southern University. Mick, I see them pearly whites coming out. What do you think, man?
Dude, I love this matchup. And while on paper it may be Georgia Southern favored, both these schools are very close to my heart growing up. Georgia Southern, I know so many people that go there. Literally everyone from my high school went over there. So I'm very affiliated with that campus to some extent. But overall, man, I'm loving what I'm seeing, man. I love these Southern rivalries. I love the Southeast Conference. I love the CCL. I love this matchup. And I also want to just go ahead and get into it because everything to be said and done. I want to talk about these players. I want to talk about these maps. I want to see what we got going on, man.
Yeah, let's hop into the head-to-head because right now, like you said, it's quite an interesting one indeed. The Southeast Conference is honestly one to not mess with. You know, Southern hospitality, but also Southern aggression. Let's talk about Clemson real quick. 10-7 season record, and let's just keep going down with them. And they got a hard point record of 11-10. Search and Destroys a 7-8, and controls a 4-3. Mick, I'm gonna give you the honors. What is Georgia Southern's record for us?
Well, it's prep your ears, people, because it's a little scary to listen to. 17-2 for the season, 20-4 in hardpoint, 17-2 in Search and Destroy, and only one loss in Control with 12 wins in the meantime.
Goodness gracious.
I'm not going to say they're favored here, man. I think we're looking at somewhat of a 50-50. I mean, who knows? But Georgia State's looking pretty darn strong.
Goodness gracious, this is probably the biggest disparity in stats that me and you have casted over since we started casting. It's for the CCL. This is probably the biggest stat line difference. Overall, I think, Clemson will definitely have a shot, to say a shot overall in this record.
Yeah, and I think the shot is, just flying under the radar, quite simply. I think that's going to be the biggest thing for them because as it stands so far, Clemson, they've had themselves a pretty good run. They've obviously had themselves a good season. They haven't had an amazing season like Georgia Southern has, but there is a basis where there will be times where you're saying, okay, well, this just isn't my day, or, this is the last season. We've seen shutdowns before. We've seen upsets before. They're always going to be doable. But the thing is, it always has to start in hard point. You have to look good on that map because that is two of the points. If you don't grab at least one hard point, you are not going to grab this series, quite frankly. That's just plain and simple. That's just the golden rule. And even then, while there are exceptions sometimes, they are so few and far between that you can't really just rely on them whatsoever. So, that hard point win-loss ratio is the scariest thing for me, sitting at 20-4. And then Search and Destroy, knowing that's the follow-up. Clemson has to do something outstanding. If they do that, quite honestly, they could be the #1 team in the entire country if they sit there and end up beating Georgia Southern in some kind of a manner that's unexpected. But enough about talking about the matchup, talking about the teams and what they got to provide against each other in the entirety. Let's look at each individual teams and what they have to provide in terms of rosters.
Indeed so, and you already see right now, Clemson Esports have Classy, Matty P, BMO, and TK. Quite an interesting roster indeed. I think BMO is going to be the player that I'm going to be trying to look out for. Shout out Adventure Time. But, there's not too much to say about this roster that hasn't already been said in the records. So let's hop over to our other team on the side of Georgia Southern because, this is going to be an interesting one because all these players have been playing red hot this whole season. We've got T-Shirt, Kyla, Chappas, and Teston. I believe Tommy Chappas was that player that was on that went viral just a couple days ago that was watching the highlights instead of getting warmed up. So this is definitely a team that is well-rounded and is, cracked and ready to go.
Oh, they most definitely are. I'm sure they are just buckled up. They're going ahead, get themselves the full tank of gas as it stands as far. But, everything considered, look at these two squads. Obviously, Georgia Southern, they look pretty good. You're pretty intimidated coming into this matchup. I think anybody would be, knowing they are going up against Georgia Southern, who is, one of the final contesters that comes around to probably the past couple seasons of CCL looking at playoff situations. They know they're going to get to that stage. They know they're going to find themselves in playoffs. It just comes down to how strong can you be, how strong can you look, and how much can you really sit there and, I would say, reinforce your resume to say, look, not only are we looking good, but we're looking almost unpenetrable. That's the biggest thing they have to look for. So if anything's going to be talking about unpenetrated, it's going to be the likes of the maps, because that's where we're going to see the attack and defense on each one of them. And that's also where the majority of this action is going to be going down. So with these two going ahead and stacking up against each other, you obviously have the map count there in the bottom earlier during the break, but here's a little more of an elaborated version for you. Hardpoint on the Bocage, a little bit of a repeat from that last map. Tuscan the Search and Destroy, a little bit of a repeat from that last map. But Gavitu for 2 maps afterwards, and then Bocage once again. Obviously, all 5 are not going to be guaranteed, but to know that we get ourselves at least a different map in every single time. Look at these first 3. It's going to be a nice little bit of a tour that we're going to be taking.
Yeah, this is a great setup. You start off with a, fast, broken chains going crazy in the Bocage. Then you head to a more refined map like Tuscan. Then you bring out the AR supremacy towards Gavitu. So this is a great setup overall. This is what I love to see out of teams, is them playing towards their elements instead of just the same 2 maps over and over and over. And, because at the end of the day, the better your map pool, the better you're going to play. Because if you're having to, just absolutely destroy your picks with only 2 maps, then you're not exactly a diverse team. And that's why we saw 3-0 last matchup. So this is definitely going to be an interesting one indeed. Granted, we have Georgia Southern that are a much more, refined and polished team against Clemson Esports, but this could definitely be a shining light for Clemson to, really use their practicality and the elements of their team to really shine and show off.
Yeah, especially when you look at the records and when you look at the kind of lineups that we see from Georgia Southern. Clemson don't, quite frankly, knowing they're standing in the game so far, knowing how good they've looked over the season, knowing they had themselves a pretty good look thus far, you need to sit there and consider that they don't have to fight for a win. As nice as that is, good God, as nice as it would be to close out a series against Georgia Southern, they don't have to do that. More importantly, they just need to grab a couple maps. I'd say at least make it a 3-1, 3-2. You can go ahead and say that you were satisfied with what you've done here on the field. You have a lot to look at. You have a win and a loss against Georgia Southern to sit there and go into playoffs, have some kind of VOD with, and say, what did we do good? It's plain and simple. What did we do outstanding there? Because we had to do that better than anybody else to really get ourselves to a stage where we could have even considered winning that. Then what did we do bad? Because honestly, a win, even on a map, would give them enough to look at that mini-map to figure out what exactly in their stationing works out well, how they position themselves on the map. Whether or not even it comes down to the frags, just entire site control to rotate around that, make sure they have the station, make sure they have the spawns. How do they make Georgia Southern's job as impossible as it can be compared to how much can we dominate them? Because those are 2 completely different ideologies, and they have to choose one or the other. And I think the first may be a little bit of an easier option.
I think so indeed. And, as we get ready for this next map, this first map in the series, I'm really going to need to see some highlight players. Some players that are really going to take this team to the next level. Because on the side of Clemson, you have Georgia Southern that are a much bigger stacked recorded team. So this is this is not even an opinion. You are an underdog in this fight. There's no, anybody taking sides here. Just looking at the stats and the facts that we're presented on each spreadsheet, this is not going to be a fun one overall. You're going to really need to show up, show out, and like I said, I'm expecting that player BMO to really step up and do some work here, because if not, then this is going to be a nightmare of a series for them.
Yeah, I think we're all expecting Clemson to go ahead and step up in some regard to at least get themselves some massive frags on the board to at least look good in that KD ratio. Because even then, that could be a win of its own. But, knowing that you're fragging is only half the story. You can't frag out and win yourself an entire championship. Because in hardpoint and in control, you're going to sit there and respawn. Hardpoint, even then, more importantly, you have unlimited respawn. So by all means, kill us all day. But as long as we spread up enough and find the critical gears here and there, it's going to be enough for us to find a win. Search and destroy, though, that's going to be the biggest thing, is I feel like Clemson, if they over-rotate, if they sit there and find themselves looking to wander a little bit, teammates looking for some kind of intel that they really shouldn't be sticking their nose into, they're going to do nothing but find their nose in a mousetrap. It's going to get snapped off in front of them, and they're going to sit there and be sitting in pain there for a little while, kind of realizing what exactly happened to them. The same thing can be said when it comes around to control. I think Clemson's going to have to go ahead and know to pace themselves. It's a very, very weird situation they're in right now to say, look, we have to go ahead. We have to go crazy. We have to sit there and do something weird, something wacky, something never seen before. We have to sit there and find a win in some regard, but doing it in a manner that people expect us to do it with because of how difficult it is. Because if any of us overextend, if any of us find ourselves isolated and we don't have that full confidence to back things up to say we can frag out and we can stay alive, well, you're going to find yourself not alive. So there's a lot here on the line for them. I feel like, honestly, though, Clemson, so long as you find yourself a couple rounds, as I said, that's enough for you to be happy with what you got here today.
I agree. And this is going to be the map to really try and take it from Georgia Southern. Both colleges are a lot more unrelenting, more, slaying and getting influence. So this is going to be the map that I expect them to really, pop off on. But if not, then Georgia Southern's going to hold the narrative for the rest of these 3 maps. And as we hop in, you can already see great setup. You're going to be able to hold this first map for the beginning, or this first hill, excuse me. And there you go. Georgia Southern just absolutely rock it.
Yeah, already a good start here for him to go ahead and grab a couple points on the board and even then get a couple kills to back it up as well, but already sitting at 10 points to 2. We see Georgia Southern looking to go ahead and hold Clemson a little bit hostage towards their spawn, saying we don't even need to really push for it. We know that there's 26 seconds on the side. We can make the rotations towards the back when it comes around to 10. But in the meantime, Clemson gets swapped up anyways. You have the rest of the team of Georgia Southern. Everybody except T-Shirt is just stationed on the outside, and T-Shirt's holding down the entirety of the sidelines lonesome to where by the time it hits about 10 seconds, they're not even worried about what's going on. They're saying, let's go for the next. Let's get ready for it. You can go ahead and pick up the scrap time testing, but the rest of us got another job in mind.
Indeed, Tony, you see right there, Cam just beautifully breaks through the back line, clears it out. Now he's going to be able to hold the spawns for his team. And there you go, players now from the side of Clemson. While they did have a great setup, unfortunately, the mindfulness of Georgia Southern players know how to break through these lines, find the cracks in the armor, and immediately destroy. And that's what we're seeing right now. Great shots from Choppas and Testin, and Cam, once again, the infiltration player helping out with this team to just grab more time in general.
Yeah, already getting a lot of good time here on the board for the side of Georgia Southern, now sitting 33-9. A good standing for themselves overall, and even in Clemson, not really getting too much of a chance as it stands in terms of the kills department. We got Matty P and Classy both only having 1 kill respectively. They got to go ahead and step that up a little bit more so, but with 23 seconds remaining on P2, they can grab themselves some time, knowing that Tess is kind of held hostage in the back. You got to flush this guy out. You got to find that util, and you can't really throw it a little bit too short because of that barrel he's hanging around, and honestly, players love hanging out in this spot, so there it is. The flank comes out, the kill comes too as well. A little bit more time here for Clemson. Made the job look a lot more doable, but that's because Georgia Southern, they're not even worried about the side anymore. They don't care about P2. P3 is open available here within 0 seconds. They can make the transfer over. They already had the spawn set up for themselves, and Choppas seeing 10-2. He's trying to grab a little bit more.
Indeed so, and there you go. Nice little 3 down from Clemson. They're going to be able to open up the back lane, but this is just a great hold because now they're going to be able to grab some good time to be able to get back in the fight. You're going to see right here big plays from the back line, and well, you're going to lose your life to Testin, but there you go. Now Georgia Southern can breathe, open up some availability here, and now you've got 3 down, a little 4-for-1 trade, and well, Choppas has full streaks as well, so this is going to be nice little back pocket glide bomb, but the rotation already in effect, and you can see Cam making it.
Already a good start here for Georgia Southern. Now getting themselves a little bit more time on the board. Clemson, though, having some really good relativity here in this fight. I mean, all things considered, we sat there and saw the score line when it looked down to P2, and you're saying, oh my goodness, this is a really bad start. Well, they've had an even better recovery. Get themselves up to 42-58. This is looking very, very doable. Last 4 seconds onto the board for P3 right there. Now transfer to P4. You can see Cam coming on the flank saying, I'm not worried about the site. I just want to grab a couple kills on the way out. Go ahead, reset these spawns. Make sure the job's that much harder. Spread out the team as much as possible because Clemson, that's exactly what they're doing. They're buying into that. But even then, you already saw that, I mean, the double kill to come out from the edge, that was just disgusting. You have a little bit more to work with here. Clemson has all these players alive and on site. They can find themselves a tie game or even a lead.
Indeed so, and you're going to see Matty P pull out the Volk. This is that variable gun that can make the difference on a map like this. So hopefully, as we can see, they break that stat line. Now they're going to be holding it for a while. Once again, Cam breaking through the lines of the defense here. Unfortunately, will lose his life. Testin gets a big shot kill onto BMO, and now Testin gets a double. Almost gets the 3-piece, and you just really need to hold this time overall because, yeah, Georgia Southern are currently on the back end, but if you give them any moment to breathe, Clemson will go down very bad.
already get themselves a pretty good start. I mean, looking at, as you said, things could really spiral down into a bad way. But, I mean, Clemson, that's kind of what they want on Bokosh. They sit there and kind of swept the lead from Georgia Southern without really expecting it. Georgia Southern's looking for some more relativity, finding themselves on the site now on the P5. But, I mean, a little bit of time could go a long way in this game, especially on this map more specifically. So, already Clemson just have themselves 11 points. We sat there and saw them a pretty big deficit, but every single second counts on this map with how fast it is, how aggressive it is. You can see every single bit of the aggression already being reinforced from all these players. When you see the pick there from the top, when you see that Georgia Southern's getting picked over through the middle, they got to work indoors, but they got to work in the crevices as well, because they can't just keep on running through these halls, getting picked off right through the middle, getting picked off, because it's not going to spell very good in for themselves.
Indeed, so when you look at the side of Clemson, it's TK. The guy's just making big plays, getting a lot of slaying gear for the side of Clemson, and Georgia Southern have not been able to really, capitalize how they can try and isolate this player. You're going to see T-shirt and testing get a two-piece, but overall, they set up for the next set of rotations. We've learned a lot from both teams here. We know that Clemson have that secret player, TK, that knows how to pop off when needed. So you're really going to need to ISO him for this next set if you're going to want to really catapult yourself towards that 250.
I mean, yeah, already Georgia Southern hitting that triple checkpoint for the side of themselves. It's looking really good to know you hit 100, but there's still 150 to go. You still got to more than double up your score. You get 2.5 of what you just got, and then make sure to double down on it. But as it stands already, Clemson, they've gotten themselves a little bit more fight, a little bit more bite to back things up as well when you see the Georgia Southern's making sure to hold things out in the middle. But I don't know why people hold that door, man. Every single time they go ahead, get shot in the barrel, and it doesn't work out for them. But nonetheless, you sit there and you're trying to set up for P2 spawns, and we can already see Georgia Southern having the advantage of that. Clemson have to fight through barn. They have to take control of this. They have to say, we can make the push on the site. We can make the split. We can have all 4 players set up, grab the kills on P2, move towards spawn, and everything really stacks up for our favor. Thing is, that is a lot of things to ask to go really to work out for you to set up an optimal situation. That's not going to be the case. You're not going to find all those to line up right in hand for you like it's on a silver platter. You have to work for it. You have to find some more, and there it is. Already locking testing up towards the middle of the map. That's a good start, but you got to do a little bit more there. You got to find your advantage. You got to find your positioning, and TK already pushing up on the side, knowing that T-shirt's up there in the top. This guy's going off, and that's going to be massive. You make the call for sight. You get the streets to come down. You sit there, buys a little bit more space for yourself, and Georgia Southern still not really having too much time here.
Indeed, so you're going to see right here, Matty P unfortunately gets taken out by T-shirt. T-shirt has that great AR place towards the back of that cheetah tank, but overall, 130 to 98 is a great stat line for Georgia Southern. They were, going head-to-head with Clemson for a while there, but overall, they really have pulled through, and like I said, this is the time to really catapult. You've learned from the first set of rotations. Now, as we head towards P3, you can see right there, immediately, Tommy Choppa's the man himself, goes crazy, stops the flank, but you only have Matty P, who's going to be your shining light in that moment to try and get it, but his position's going to be compromised. Choppa's on the hunt. He's looking for him, and he immediately takes him out. So now your back line is cleared. You have the spawns. This is a recipe for success.
Most definitely is. I mean, Georgia Southern getting onto the site, especially initially, is going to be a lot more influential. You grab yourself some free time. You know this side is going to be very, very contested. It's going to be a huge problem for everybody. Thing is, game has no backup. Doesn't matter anyways. Man grabs at least 1 kill. Can go ahead and create some little space on the side. Get a second to back things up. Go ahead and shut down BMO as well. Now sitting at 153 to 107. Georgia Southern with a 50-point lead. This is almost an entire site. Only 4 more seconds. They have literally an entire site worth of extra time to be working with. They can use that for other rotations, finding kills, whatever need be. But at least in the meantime, Cam doesn't need any of that. Manage another kill of his own, saying let's go ahead and wrap around. Let's sit there and get what we can work with. But already Georgia and Clemson, there is a lot on the line here because Clemson needs to step things up, not only in the kills, but in the time as well, because Matty P sitting at 17 seconds, 11 and 23. I mean, a lot of people that would say, okay, if I don't grab kills, I grab time. This guy hasn't really gotten either, quite simply. It's in the entirety of the game.
Yeah, when you're playing bad, you really need to shift your gameplay. And right there, like you said, he just hasn't been shifting it at all to help the team. He shifts his gameplay, him and BMO and Classic, because you have TK already rocking it with the kills. You got to give a big shout out to BMO, though, because he is having a minute close to 10 now to having time on the site. But overall, you need the team to really start thinking for each other instead of themselves. Yeah, TK's going off, but what's TK's time? He's 32 seconds, but, Classy and Matty P, what are they doing? What's their influence on the map right now? Because it's literally not being felt.
Yeah, I mean, that's the biggest problem for Clemson right now. We sat there to see that they have 125 points against Georgia Southern's 177, and two of your teammates have less than 30 seconds, and only your third has only 4 extra over that. You got to sit there and change something up. You have to start contributing more as an entire squad, because that's the biggest problem for Clemson right now. This is literally looking like a 2v5. They have a Slayer and they have a point man. That is not enough. You got to have a lot more guys relevant in this fight, and we're just not quite simply seeing it yet as Georgia Southern is looking to close this thing out, get themselves close to the 200-point threshold, and make sure to get that much of a lead. If Clemson ends up winning this, honestly, they could, seriously, 2v4 probably half the entire league.
Exactly. So it's just the greatness of a unified team. And right here, T-Shirt's going to get a bit of a contest from Classy, but he almost wins that one. Classy wins that one by the skin of his teeth. And right now, Choppa's going to pull out the Volk, realizes the lack of flex in the team, and now that's going to be an adjustment for him. This is exactly what we were talking about, teams adjusting. But unfortunately, Choppa's not going to be able to capitalize on any kills because he will lose his life. Now we head towards the third set of rotations here, Mick. And, you know, I gotta ask you, what are you thinking right now for Clemson? Because they're just scraping by at this point.
I think quite simply there's going to be a lot more to put on the board. I mean, they're scraping by, and that's extremely impressive to look at. I know that Clemson's keeping up with Georgia Southern. This game hasn't really gone ahead and been done and dusted by any means necessary, you know, a couple minutes ago. But, I mean, as the game moves further along, Georgia Southern's skill, whole point gap is not being all that large. You're seeing Clemson pick up a lot of the time, really look good, and every single time you see these players that are not really fragging too much, they're fragging at times that count, I'll admit. That's because there's so many kills going onto the board. Everybody's dying so fast that it almost feels like players are spending more time running the site than actually fighting things out because of how contested these sites are, how the spawns are lining up for everybody right now. So with the rotation going all the way back and we're sitting on P1 again, this is where we saw Georgia Southern excel for the longest time. But thing is, they're falling a little bit short because they haven't found any time in it at all. Clemson's going ahead and capitalizing on that, and they have grabbed a couple seconds here and there, but Georgia Southern's slipping from behind.
But here's the thing, though. You know, we talk about that, but you look at it right there. You know, Clemson was focusing that P1. They clearly left that back line open. T-Shirt was able to get in there, and you still have Choppas there securing the spot for P2. P2 is honestly where it might just end for the side of Georgia Southern. But, you know, you see Clemson still fighting for their lives here, trying to get it going. But the ARs have now come out. The lanes are being watched, and this is a total security lockdown.
Honestly, I can tell you exactly what it is. Probably desperation there within the comms for each other. You're trying to say, okay, well, I need a guy set up here. I need a guy set up here. Well, how am I going to sit there and set up here when we got guys pushing him right here? Well, if you sit there and find a cross between the two, which we just haven't seen Clemson do, they're not finding reliable kills to really say, we can pan out this time. We can go ahead and stop this clock. We can sit there and accumulate time in the meantime to say that we can grab ourselves a dub here in this game. Because as it seems thus far, Cam is pushing all the way into spawn. The guy's not giving you a chance to play the game as it stands thus far. Meanwhile, his teammates are just sitting on site while he's literally doing it all in the kills because T-Shirt's already gotten his highlight moment. Teston's already fragged out as well. Choppa has done his work as well. Everybody at Georgia Southern is here to play, and there's only 2 seconds on the clock for him.
Yeah, 20 seconds overall. Clemson's going to claw their way to try and hold this site. Now you just need to play calm, cool, and collect from Georgia Southern. You need 2 points. You know that Clemson's not going to win off of this. You could even allow this game to go past the game timer, but you're going to see right there, big plays, and there you go, Teston. The Slays come in, 11 seconds overall, and here comes another contest. TK wins that one, and now they can get themselves to a manageable point from Clemson, but Georgia Southern just need 2 points and 10 seconds of contest time, and that will be it.
Oh, these players realize that we don't sit there and show their KDs on the head-to-head, right? I think they don't need to fluff it by any means necessary. They don't need to go ahead and elongate the game a little bit more. So there you go, Georgia. Close out the game. Get yourself a first round on the board in terms of the series count. And get that first map on hardpoint to show that your record is there for a reason. You have lost only 2 hardpoints over the course of the semester, and you're not going to lose any more as it stands, at least here tonight, as it stands thus far, unless you go to that second one and things really do start to become a reverse sweep. But talking about reversals, reverse the roles here for Clemson for a second. They're the Tigers, but they're the ones who are getting chewed up.
Indeed so, and you know, you look at the stats right now from the side of Clemson. TK 43 and 40. This guy was just slaying out, having fun, controlling spawns, but When it's a one-man job, it's not enough, especially on Bocage. And then you look over to the side of Georgia Southern. Each one of these players, 38 kills or more. You look at T-shirt 49 and 29. We saw towards the end there the AR coming out big time. And Cam, he had a big one indeed when you saw that last hill on P2. He was just rocking it. He was the single line of defense, and he was making sure his influence was felt everywhere. But, you know, unfortunately, though, they did, you know, lose P2 towards the last end, and they weren't able to, you know, cap it off right there towards the dub. But then they went towards P3. Yeah, it got a bit mixy, but Clemson they knew going into that hill they were not going to win it. So, you know, Georgia Southern just went in, just threw lives in, wanted to get towards that end timer, but, you know, they still got it in terms of the score.
Yeah, look at the standings for these teams. I mean, they're not looking too bad. We sit there, look at the damage. We look at the non-targeted kills for Georgia Southern. We expect them to be high. But a big factor was the fact that 3 of these players for the side of Clemson barely touched that site for half the game. We sat there and saw what could have been a comeback. That's the only reason it's over 200, I'll be quite frank with you. It's because we finally saw everybody go ahead and put some time on the board. 2 of those players, keep in mind, before 200, before like 170, they had only, like, I would say less than 20 seconds onto the board when it comes around to time on the hill. That is a problem. You have to get more time on the hill. I don't care whether you're contesting it or not. Even then, their contested time isn't looking nearly as much as some of these other players, because their contested time is great and all, but you got to have multiple players with that same exact contest time, counting up at the same point, setting up these crosses on site, playing that defense, going ahead after they get control. But as it stands thus far, we didn't see enough guys there on site trying to fight for it, trying to go ahead and buy time for reinforcements and waiting for their fraggers to go and give them that backup, because Georgia Southern was always a little bit faster to that pitch.
Indeed so, and that's why they won that one towards the score. Clemson really tried their hardest and really were trying their best, but hey, this is the time to show that polishedness that, you know, Georgia Southern had on the search and destroy here on Tuscan. Clemson, you know, they were, like you said, it almost felt like a 2v4. So this is not going to be a good one in terms of, you know, team comp. But, hey, you've learned from what Georgia Southern brings to the table. You can definitely combat that. And as we see this fight towards A begins, Beamel's going to get some shots into him, and TK opens up with the first kill.
Already an easy little start here for the side of Clemson. A great one to go ahead and introduce themselves onto this map as well, because as we sit there and saw, there's no real home field advantage just yet until we get to that map 4 if it does become a factor, but already going ahead and get themselves a little bit of leverage towards that B side. This is an interesting play because you don't see a lot of players really go ahead and make the most of it. You know the setup's towards A, you know that's where the default is, and you can already see TK looking to go for the flank. Tesson does find one in exchange, and even then towards the back, T-shirt gets one with that automaton and just making sure to watch that spawn, make sure that teams don't get overzealous. If they do, he will be there to punish you. But already we see Clemson looking to get a little bit desperate, trying instead of even planning towards B, saying, we're going to go ahead and push up towards spawn, try and pressure T-shirt. This guy's ready for it, and I don't know if you are.
Indeed so, and what you're going to see right there, Classy gets a nade, 2 HP, and a Dream going to try and get out of there. Links up with his teammate, but you're getting besieged. Both teams coming in from the top angle. Now you're going to get shot down from the top rope by Teston, and there you go. Here comes the contest from T-shirt, and Georgia Southern immediately break down the side of Clemson.
Yeah, already good start here for Georgia Southern, getting themselves a pretty good start overall, and at least in terms of rounds. We saw Clemson with the better start, at least in this round specifically with that first blood, but just not really making the most of it. We saw them playing for flanks. We sat there and saw the patience there from Georgia Southern saying we don't need to go ahead and shoot them face first. If we wait for them to turn their backs to us, because they're going to have to push these sides because for some reason they're all the way in their spawn, let's kill them when they got their backs turned to us. They can't make those calls. We still have a power play. We still know exactly where we are. We know that there's not a player there anymore, and another one may be nearby because they're not going to be isolated.
Indeed so, and you're going to see right here, Teston immediately goes in from the back right here to watch P5. He knows that there might be another player there. That's going to be Classy. So Classy's going to contest him in the same angle. Both sides are watching that door. Nobody wants to overextend from the side of Clemson, and Matty P will be able to find T-shirt, that overextension kill that I was talking about. Teston sees the play, knows that, hey, there's 2 players now, goes for some more shots. Now they're going to need to play a 3v4 like they did last round.
Most definitely will. But I mean, they sat there and ended up winning that 3v4, and I'm sure they want to repeat history right now. It all comes down to whether or not Classic can find those shots. He most definitely does. So sitting at a 2v4, a really good sitting for themselves, and that was Bomb as well, surprisingly enough. So you have to see Cam go on a recovery trip, pick that thing up, and take it across the map and see if they can fight for some A. But already, I think honestly they could go for this defensive push again. You know that Clemson's going to expect them to rotate. You know they're going to play for pressure. They're going to go ahead and try and rotate and get behind the opposition. But there it is, the first pick on the side for Georgia Southern. Now making it 3v4. You know that Bomb still isn't down, and I don't even know if they're playing for it at this stage in the game. They don't know where any of these players on the map are. They have no control across the map. It's purely just Cam by his lonesome, trying to clutch things out, trying not to give up any streaks, and just trying to make sure to play for defense. But honestly, Clemson, they're not going to give him anything else because they know that if anybody could step it up, he grabbed that first kill. He didn't have any deaths thus far. You don't know what he's capable of.
You really don't. And, you know, a smart play from Cam here to just stay alive, not throw his life away, to, you know, feed streaks to the side of Clemson. So Clemson, you know, what looked was a bit of a tough one right at the beginning of round one. Immediately bring it back with a nice opening kill to find that overextension, and then they just work it from there, piece by piece, brick by brick, whatever you want to call it. So now Clemson take it to the 1-1, and Georgia Southern, they will be on the defense, and we're going to probably see a push once again because, you know, B, as popular as it is for mixing it up, A is always going to be that classic one.
It most definitely always will be. I mean, A is just kind of tried and true. You know, it's right through the middle, easy aggression, an easy first pick here for the side of Georgia Southern. Already T-shirt. The guy that sat there, him and Matty P, I swear, they have a freaking grudge match against each other. Every single first blood, it seems thus far, as me, at least involving one of these two, or involving both of them at the same time, and even exchange back and forth. But already looking to go ahead, find some mid controls from TK, trying to go ahead and get the flank on the guys, and there it is. At least one of those kills. You have the cross on your teammate. You know you have complete mid control of the map right now. Do you go A or you go B? Well, it looks like they could be going towards B, but they're just filling out the church right now, and they're making themselves at home.
Indeed so. And Classic's going to be able to get the bomb down here free of charge. No players are going to be able to move towards his position. TK even closes the door. Choppa's going to get shot from the back, but you're going to see right there, Cam unfortunately does not get the door break in time. TK heard that noise, so now it's a 1v2 here. Cam's going to really need to slice down the situation, but he gets shot from the bottom line. So Clemson now take their second round in a row.
And that's exactly what they need. I mean, getting themselves a lead, getting these exchanges that really work out for them. And even then, after they lost that first blood, they went ahead and had that first dead there on the board. They said, we can go ahead and exchange these easily. They fought for mid control. They said, we're going to feel things out. We're going to play this by ear. We're not going to play for game plans. We're just going to make sure that if we grab the mid, we can go wherever we want to. They had the easiest plan of their lifetime towards A for the longest time, because they were literally just pitching a tent towards the middle of the map. But they said, where can we take this advantage? Towards church. Well, where can you take the advantage at least one more time for them? Is right there on Clemson. That first blood for the side of TK with that sniper in hand. He's going to go ahead and try to look for another, because Georgia Southern, it doesn't seem like they're trying to give the respect to this opponent that he needs. Instead, they're looking to peek the sniper once more.
Indeed so, and TK is just that player. He makes the risky plays, but it plays out for him. He's 5-1 on a 4 streak, but BMO with the Vulcan hand looking towards Choppa's, and, well, Choppa's going to lose his life, unfortunately, so that's a 4v2. Unfortunately, Georgia Southern in a uncomfortable position once again. Tetson's going to throw himself out there, actually gets the kill, gets himself out of enemy lines, and there comes the sniper. He's going to get away. Now knows that, hey, we can get the bomb down. No players are going to contest us here, so T-shirt, just give me the overwatch.
Yeah, T-shirt's got to watch in the mid, so you know you have that oracle. You know you had that security from the middle of the map. You already pushed TK off. The thing is, you just got that one wild card somewhere. It doesn't matter where he is, though. Teston grabs the kill on towards the top of the church. You say we now have that Overwatch now being done, and Dustin, his T-shirt grabs another one onto the bomb. It's now sitting like a 1v2 for the side of TK. Try to go ahead with that, nothing but a sniper to work with. You saw the man earlier. You knew he was around church. You knew he had a sniper. He's been working long, because there's no difference now. It's nothing but an automaton. You grab that double swing, but you just don't find any success out of it. T-shirt and TK in a 1v1. You got 10 seconds regardless of whatever happens. 7 seconds left on the clock. This guy's name is not clutching this out.
Indeed so, and TK is really just working for the streaks here. He's not going to go for the bomb, so he's going to be able to just get himself one more kill, hopefully this next round, to get that glide bomb. Because remember, right now the straight front is G8, so we do not have any sort of straight front. So it's a one-streak game right now. This is unfortunate because, you know, hey, sometimes that straight front was a big talking point sometimes for S&D.
Yeah, I think it definitely could be. I mean, already looking at the streaks, though, I mean, talking about the GAs and making them kind of problematic, you got to sit there and consider We just saw TK switch off to sniper. He's had relative success on the defense, but I don't think he's going to go for that same kind of lineup, which honestly, I wouldn't really blame it. I don't really sit there and condone snipers on the attacking side, but for Call of Duty, I feel like it could be an exception. Problem is, it's not even going to matter, because T-shirt Matty P knows how to get in combat so freaking fast, man, and he's got to slow things down every single time he's out of the first blood. Good job for you, buddy, or he is the first death, and that seems to be the majority of the case right now as it stands. But a little bit more to work right now. 3v4 for the side of Clemson have to go ahead and still get themselves on the site, and it looks like they could be pushing up towards A because they have full control of the side of the map. Senior Georgia Southern will go ahead and overextend, check their backs, and whenever they do that, that's exactly when they're going to go ahead and strike. Find that first kill, go ahead and make the even exchange, get a 3v3 into the board, and they still got full A control.
Indeed, so they're not going to exactly go for the bomb just yet. They want to make sure that there's no opposition. Class is going to be moving to A, and there you go. He realizes, hey, we're being watched from the mid. We may need to go for a long flank here. Both players from mid, top church, are not going to allow any sort of easy A plant. So you have the player towards B, and that's going to be Teston, who's going to hopefully stop these players from rotating.
Yeah, definitely could be. I mean, Tesson looking, he's like, I'm really fed up with this, man. They can go ahead and go for a play if they want to, but you can already see the exchange in the middle of the map. Guys going ahead pushing up. You see the other players pushing up now. You see that Classy's already been picked off as well. So now sitting into 2v2, that's the even exchange there from BMO. Looking for one more. Going ahead. A little bit of team shots on the board, but in the meantime, they didn't get any plant whatsoever. They sat there, took so long towards middle. Nobody put the aggression towards middle of the map to really find that kill where you could get that plant down. And even then, when you came up with the secondary plan to say we possibly need to go towards the B side or we have to go ahead and work for the middle of the map, it was far too late by that time, buddy. And you see Georgia Southern grind themselves a free round.
Indeed, so that's a great round indeed for Georgia Southern. So now we're going to have to, really see Clemson to use that streak that they have for a later round. But overall, they've been playing to their strategy. And while they did lose that round, we're going to see right now Classy immediately going to get besieged by 3 players. And, well, he's going to lose his life as he goes for the wrong door to Chow. So now this B movement has been compromised. Every player from Clemson Esports besieging the site. And you're going to see right there, Nade's coming in. Bemo's coming in with a shot. And there goes Bemo again. But he's going to get taken down. It's a 2v1. Choppa's, he's hot on a streak right now with the Volk.
He's sitting at a 2K for sure, and he's going to go look to get a little bit more. But, I mean, with that Volk in hand, he's going to look to get some pressure going. It's not an automaton. He can't find the shots around the corner. Misses the first 2. All the follow-ups go ahead and land. But in the meantime, he's already been shot up a couple times. And even then, now, Georgia Southern's pretty little record when it comes down to Search and Destroy is also looking to go ahead and possibly get shot up here by the end of this, if so long as they find themselves a couple more rounds to just put the nail in the coffin. Because sitting at 3-3, this game is definitely staying even, man. I got to say, I'm loving every single bit of this S&D. That's why I love this kind of mode. Because even then, when you see the aggression, when you see teams sometimes getting beat out on a hard point, the game, the Search and Destroy, is so slow that you never know what could happen. Whether it comes down to a mental thing, whether it comes down to the pacing literally messing you up and making your job that much worse, it doesn't matter. You don't know what it could be that time of day or what it could be that specific matchup, but it will always make the game look at least relatively simple unless you just ego chow literally everything, knowing you're the better shooter. And quite simply, I don't think Georgia Southern is that much of a better shooter. I think they just have better strats, they have better comms, they're that much more composed, and even then, with that composure, they find the first blood.
Indeed so. And that's going to be on to TK. So that stops his streak immediately. Now Choppa's going to get found out. They know where this player is. All the players from the side of Georgia Southern are moving aggressively, but Cam, he wins that kill onto Bemo. Classy being the last alive, running for his life 1 in 5. He is not feeling confident.
And even then, the team day comes out. So it's not a 1v4, it's a 1v3. You sit there, give Classy a little bit of leeway to say, okay, you make your job a little bit easier, but even at the end of the day, it doesn't even matter. You find the kill, you find the round, you make it a 4-3 lead. There is no swing round right here, right now. It comes down to, it was a mutual handshake until now. You have to go ahead and secure a lead because as it stands, it's just gone ahead and been bit back and forth.
Yeah, and you really think about it like this. Clemson and Georgia have really been going back and forth. Like you said, it's been like almost like a handshake. And this is something we did not expect. We expected more of a beatdown from the side of Georgia Southern onto Clemson. But, overall, these guys have been playing their hearts out. You really have to give a big shout out to TK because his influential role on this team has been felt most definitely. But Tessa and T-shirt, the aggression felt most definitely right there. Nice little kill, but Cam unfortunately throws himself off the map somehow.
Yeah, already going ahead, getting themselves a little bit more to work with, knowing they got to get that bomb down eventually. But in a 2v3 situation, they got to go ahead, as we sat there and saw earlier to Clemson when they were on the attacking side, and they had full control of A. They had the map control. They had the positioning. Thing is, they never planned it. Honestly, T-Shirt is the same kind of victimization than what we saw earlier. He doesn't want to go ahead and put that bomb down. He doesn't want to make sure to kind of overextend, make sure to get the ED pick and kind of give it over to their side. But when he lines up towards the middle, Clemson reads that perfectly. They find the shots. They go ahead and line it up against Top Church. Find themselves once again an even answered round as it now goes up to a 4-4. We could be looking at a round 11 right here as we're already at 9 of them.
Indeed so. It's been going back and forth. The stat line has been, Georgia Southern starting off. Then we had a 2-round spree from Clemson. Then we went to a 2-round spree from Georgia Southern. Then Clemson took it back. And last round, we saw Georgia Southern, and then round 8 was Clemson. So really, yeah, it can definitely go to the round 11. Both of these stats have been going back and forth. The trend lines are most definitely there. What looked like what should have been an easy round for Georgia Southern, unfortunately, Cam throws his life away. You lose that influential role, and now A is going to be the mode of our position here, and BMO trying to get some nice util usage towards that player at Top Church.
Yep, already looking to go ahead and get themselves somewhat of a play or an easy pick, but instead, absolutely nothing comes out, sadly enough. So, looking to go ahead and say we now have to do it things the old-fashioned way. Get our guns out, get our kills to back it up, and Classy almost had the plant down, but instead he just sat there and completely neglected the site. We could possibly see the same situation what we saw earlier, backing off, not really taking ever that swing onto site to get that plant down, and it can really cost them. But Choppa's still lingering towards mid. Nobody's sniffing him from top window, but it doesn't even matter. He sits there, swings on the BMO, BMO wins it out, and sitting in a 3v2, Georgia Southern have to go ahead and not only find the kills now, but the defense as well as the bomb goes down.
Indeed, so Tessin has 4 HP right here, but he's still hot on the tail of this player. And oh, contact! Oh, Classy! He gets the 180 there and turns it around. Unfortunately, you're going to see Tessin right there. He was still regenerating his HP, so he loses that almost immediately. Cam here now going to have to try and pick it up, but will lose his life. Now Clemson make it to match point.
Getting that first strike onto that match point, man, that's going to be super influential. That puts the pressure on Georgia. Even then, it was a double round. We sat there and saw them get the lead off of that. So to know that it's only one more round off, sure, Georgia Southern can go ahead and win this thing out and say, okay, we're now going back to a round 11 because that's kind of what we expected anyways. I think it could still definitely happen with Georgia Southern being on this attacking side because this is where they looked much more strong so long as TK doesn't grab these initial picks of the sniper, which he hasn't really brought out here all that often, and even then hasn't had too much of an impact. They sat there, sniffed out his trick, said, okay, he's probably going to do it again. Let's not push up on it. It comes down to the players over here towards the B site, and Chop is literally looking at the opposite direction, but Testin saves his rear! Ooh. Good God! The lineup in the hell from that man as it now makes it a 2v4.
That was an angelic blessing right there, to have a teammate come in and give you the aid, and now Choppa's able to come in, shoot some bodies. Oh my goodness, what is it, Mick, with Tuscan and BMing, man? Because right now, you're going to see a round 11 here with a 1v4 from Matty P. Very much unlikely. The bomb's going to go down. All these players have great angles, and this is going to give us that round 11.
Most definitely will, and it's Georgia Southern going ahead and winning it out here on the attacking side once again, and it all comes down to this overtime, as we mentioned earlier. We knew it was coming. This isn't scripted, but when you sit there and see a team go back and forth, back and forth, back and forth, back and forth for the longest time, you're saying nobody's going to definitively win this by 2 rounds unless something crazy happens, some huge mistake, and we haven't really seen too many of those. We saw Georgia Southern with a teammate earlier, but that's not too much of a big deal. But the bigger deal at hand right now is Georgia Southern being on the attacking side. This is where their strengths are. We sat there and saw them have almost a flawless wipe in the last round when it was on this side. So long as they just know exactly the adaptation that Clemson to make. Clemson are going to be overthinking this. Georgia Southern is going to literally repeat history. Ooh. Do the same thing. Push mid and find an easy first blood.
Indeed so. Now it's a 3v4. You're going to see T-Shirt already finds that player Matty P towards the mid. Now you're going to stun check that A bump, but nothing's going to avail. So you need these players from the side of Georgia Southern to not get overzealous here. They know that there's a player here towards the back line, and there you go. They even stun check him, and that's TK. So now they know, hey, we're going to need to converge on this player and not give him the angle that he wants, and unfortunately Testin will. And so now Cam, unfortunately not there for the trade in time. Needs to definitely step it up, and, well, he will get him off angle. And it's coming down to the shots here. It's a 2v3. If he goes down and Chapas helps him out, now they can get the bomb down. Classy last man left here. No shot. 2 and 8. He's going to get shot. He gets t-shirt though.
Well, even in the meantime, he found himself a kill. Problem is that bomb's going down, and he's got so much more of a journey still ahead of him. All Georgia Southern has to do is work for a cross. I don't think they should set up for the cross in the middle, and they're not going to. They know it's a little bit more of an amateur move. You know exactly where the players are, and even then Classy knows exactly where Cam's going to be at. It all comes down to whether or not he can get the timing. He goes ahead, gets the swing, some damage put onto it. Chop is looking to go ahead and turn things around and say, let me get a play around this bomb. He doesn't know where the man's coming from. He doesn't know if he's pushing back towards spawn, pushing into church. Well, that's exactly what Chop is doing, working for a workaround, trying to get that speed on the clock, and the timing can be so essential here because I don't even think he saw him. Whether it comes down to 9, 8, 7, regardless of what it is, the man finds the kill, gets the body shots, gets the round, and it's map 2 here for Georgia Southern.
Holy smokes, man. Clemson Esports have definitely shown us their vitality and strength on this map. But, man, Georgia Southern last minute bring it back. I thought that kill from TK was going to seal it. I thought that would have shifted the momentum. But, no. Oh, my gosh, it was a bit scary indeed. But, hey, Georgia Southern, they come through the round 11. They win that 1v1. Always a scary one to, coming from a player's perspective, but even as a caster now, it's definitely even more scarier to watch.
I think honestly because we never really had definitive leads from either side, and the fact that everybody was always trying to make these adjustments, but it wasn't really adjustments being made across the field. It was adjustments and loadouts. It was players going ahead making somewhat of adjustment to say, okay, I'm going to push up or I'm going to hold back. Everybody held the same lanes, had the same lineups for the side of Clemson, that it just made them very, very one-dimensional. And honestly, it was doable from Georgia Southern. Every time I knew they were on the attack, I knew they were going to win those rounds. We even saw it when we went to the overtime. Georgia Southern got attacking side, and you're saying, okay, well, this is over. Because it took so long for Clemson to realize what they were doing wrong. They were literally giving themselves away. We saw TK play towards that A site on long every single time. Sometimes using a sniper, sometimes using an AR, sometimes using an SMG. He liked to switch it up. Problem is, though, he never switched up his spot. And so long as they know where you are, you're going to get cross up, you're going to get double swung, you're going to get killed and picked off easily as that prey off the get-go. But Matty P was always doing that himself. He said, look, I'm not going to give you the opportunity to get your first blood because I'm going to engage every single time. I'm going to be that first contact, and I'm going to die or get the kills what it comes down to. And you just can't have a player do that. You have to find this information and say, oh, I'm out. That's it. I'm calling it. There's going to be players nearby this man. Here's where he is. His teammate's going to be probably here. We need somebody to move towards mid, get the check on these sight lines, and if anything goes south, you go ahead and back out until we have an exact pinpoint location of every single player on this defense so we have the easiest retake of our life and nowhere to slip through those cracks. Clemson never did that. They sat there and said, this is a war of attrition. We're constantly losing control when we're on the defense.
Indeed so, and that's what gave Georgia Southern their win, and Clemson unfortunately came down short in that round 11. But ladies and gentlemen, we're going to take a short break. We'll get right back to it. We've got map 3, Gavatu, and Mick talked about it before. The home field advantage could be coming up, but who's to say Georgia Southern don't 3-0? But you can decide in the chat. We'll see you in just a second. Don't go anywhere. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. We're ready with map 3. It's Clemson Esports versus Georgia Southern. Mick, it's been an exciting series. What I thought was going to be a dominant beatdown of a 3-0 has been giving us some of the best quality we've seen in a while.
It most definitely has, and all things considered, looking at Clemson. I'm thinking of Georgia rivalries that's getting stuck in my head. Look at these teams and what they have to provide. Georgia Southern and Clemson as it stands right now. Clemson was sitting earlier. More and more teams as the game goes along, it seems like they're all kind of starting to wake up here. We first saw a 2v4 when it came around to hardpoint. We saw a 3v4 in the S&D, and even then some could consider a 4v4 because I feel like everybody was equally pitching in to some extent, whether it came down to intel, but it was just them not really playing all that good on defense, and Georgia Southern got the luck of the draw. They found themselves at round 11 sitting on that attacking side where they looked so much stronger. Now in control, though, where lives aren't infinite, where control and ticks matter over lives at this stage of the game now with the updates rolling through and kind of playing as it should, things are going to be very, very more difficult because when we saw the aggression, when we saw the level of plays being brought from Georgia Southern and them running a lot of SMGs, the automatons are going to be out in full force now. This is a map of Gavutu where you have to step up in the AR, you have to step up in the long range, and I haven't seen too many players just yet today go off in those long range accelerations. I mean, TK with the sniper, sure, but you're not going to wipe out a sniper when it comes around to control. You're going to see automatons, you're going to see probably some MP40s, and maybe even then if we can see some players playing for some choke points and holding those Volks as well, because I saw a couple of those in the last map.
Yeah, definitely the ARs are going to need to be a big discussion in this matter. And we've seen the ARs come into work from that hard point on Bocage. Georgia Southern definitely have some straight shooters over there. But then you also got to remember TK as well. He's kind of a flex player for that side on Clemson. So, you know, you have your top slayer versus, you know, maybe a better variety on the side of Georgia Southern. But overall, this is definitely going to be a big one because if we can definitely have a momentum shift from Clemson here, then they could possibly take that second map after this. But if not, then we'll just see a quick 3-0 from the side of Georgia Southern.
Yeah, and I think that's what obviously Georgia Southern's looking for. They don't want to give up a map. They know when these map 3 and map 4 line up like that, they are well aware of the advantage that you sit there and just mentioned. Getting that home field advantage, knowing you're filling this map, knowing you have these bad memories just coming right back to you literally minutes after you just entered the lobby. So already looking to go ahead, get a couple kills there towards the middle. It's going to be T-shirt trying to find the Enematon action, and he'll definitely go ahead and find a little bit of action with it. Going ahead, picking off one. Classy playing right there around the boat, holding down the site and grabbing all the time to contest in the meantime. You go ahead and pick up some more to worth it.
Indeed so, and Cam's going to stay alive up here. Choppas comes in to clean up the site as well. Only the first stick was given for the site of A. Right now you have Choppas going in to look towards mid. You see the player towards top bricks, or towards top rocks, and you're going to immediately need to get ready for him. Right now, all the players are going to be shifting on the side of Clemson towards that B push. You only have one player. It's Choppas because he spawned up. He cleans up, looks for a second, gets some easy shots in, but Automaton's bullet count is going to be unforgiving in this matter.
It most definitely will be. I mean, you can already see the standing. You can see the split up here towards the A and the B side. But, I mean, problem is right now for the side of Georgia Southern, they're not really contesting this too much. And do you remember, apparently that tank to some extent is somewhat penetrable. It is. I mean, yeah, I'm surprised we're not seeing too much out of that. I don't know if these players are really watching all that much CDL, but it doesn't really matter all that much. Not many ticks are being taken just yet. Only one tick of progress onto A. You see the hole in the middle so far, and even then, a couple of players for Clemson not really finding all that many kills on the board to really match the likes of Georgia Southern sitting at 25-17 in lives.
Indeed so, and, well, right now you're going to see Classic get shot down. Unfortunately, got stuck on the boat door. So they will not be able to capitalize on the second tick here. One of these players is going to need to hop on and definitely try and get a bit of a defense, you know, measure to try and, you know, lower down the side progression because, hey, you can see if the line breaks down, they can easily grab that second tick. And when we talk about that round 5, you need the amount of ticks. But right now with 10 seconds left, it is not looking good for the side of Clemson. They will kill that player on the flank. And, well, like I said before, you did hop on, so you will lose that second tick.
Most definitely will, and even then with only 7 seconds remaining, honestly, Georgia Southern wouldn't be in a bad situation to go and contest this, but I don't really think they want to. Knowing they have themselves a 10 life advantage, they're waiting for them to go ahead and grab that point, clean up, knowing it's going to be free at that stage, and saying it is now 20-8. You literally only have 2 respawns remaining for each one of your teammates. That is if your teammates are being considerate enough to give everybody their respective lives, because think about it, looking at the scoreboard thus far, the players who can go ahead and get kills can also stay alive in the meantime, at least for the side of Georgia Southern. Clemson is struggling to really have some relativity here on this attacking side. They are just not able to step up with only 4 lives remaining, no respawns on the board. There's only one of them down.
And there you go. Teston's going to be that guy. Gets a nice little 2-piece, gets the 4th streak going. There's only 2 players left. Choppas immediately hops on the flank. He's looking for this player towards the back island, but nobody's going to give him anything just yet. TK's going to hop onto the side, and, well, Classy loses his life, and now there's only one player left. It's TK. He's going to try and will a 1v19 or at least grab 1 tick, but he's starting to get besieged. Opens up with the first kill, looks for the second, but he will lose his life. Georgia Southern now can do some damage here. With only 3 ticks being progressed from the side of Clemson, you really need to try and get aggressive here and push for even both sides. But seeing the slaying power already, Mick, I think that's going to be a very plausible situation.
It most definitely will be. I mean, look at that, such a dominant force when it came right to the lives on that first round. You got to sit there and expect that Georgia Southern's probably going to try and repeat history here on the other side. Looking at Cam, 10-1 right now. Chapa's 10-2 right now. These two are a dynamic duo that alone knocked out 2/3 of the entirety of Clemson, because we didn't even see the lives diminish down to some kind of threshold and then see it being one off time. It was purely off kills. To know that two players alone knocked out 2/3 of the entirety of Clemson's, not only their initial picks, but their reinforcements as well, knows that they are a problem. And you can already see them moving on to be with that problem in hand.
Exactly so, and you talked about it in the last series when teams can, focus that more difficult site. It's definitely a lot more of a breather in terms of the long game, and they even get 2 ticks. That's amazing. Now they can focus this A, grab it, and just grab the last tick over time. They're still up in the man count, 27-24. This is great recipe for the side of Georgia Southern. Clemson are definitely on the regain right now, trying to get back up.
And even though I love what Georgia Southern's doing, they know they grabbed all those ticks towards B. They know that a player's going to have to not only play towards the middle of the map, to sit there and answer back towards B while holding A. Otherwise, it's going to be a constant 3v4, and that's the last thing that Clemson wants. But they're going to manipulate that. They know the players are going to push towards mid. They know they're going to sit there and try and find that control across the entire map in that middle lane. And they're saying, instead of even pushing for the site, who cares? Just contest it. Go towards B. We're going to grab these free kills. We're going to capitalize on this. We're going to grab the entirety of that site. Clear out B now. It only comes down to A. This comes down to nothing but a bloodbath, and we're up 6 lives. This is an easy, doable venture for us that stands right now.
Indeed so, and you have T-shirt towards the back line with full streaks on a 7. This is going to be great because now they've got some pressure. They can definitely focus towards the front, and you have T-shirt just absolutely being a menace in the spawns. Chapas goes off into the site as well, and now Teston's going to be able to move forward, but unfortunately for him, Classy's just going to be hanging out towards the rock like a little lizard, just trying to stay up and get away from his predators. And, well, Chapas still helping out in the back line with Teston.
Most definitely is able to go ahead and find a little bit more to be working with, and now an 8 life differential over the side of Georgia Southern. Problem is they got to get a little bit more aggressive with all these kills if they're really going to end the game off like that. You see them holding up the cross there towards the middle. No players holding up on towards A. No players trying to get that time under the clock. Instead, they're trying to set up towards the spawn, but they've already let so many players through the cracks that it's created a problem. Cam can't grab that kill. You see the flush out. You see all these other players trying to move about, and so it causes the glide bomb to be almost a reliance for the side of Georgia Southern, saying, we got to do something here, and that's exactly what it was. TK's top boat. He's holding things down. You got 37 seconds left. Georgia Southern need to get aggressive, and they have to do it fast, because even then, I don't think they have enough time in the world to lose all these lives just yet. They just have to go ahead and make sure to capitalize on them, and they've already done that, grabbing 2 onto the board.
Indeed so, and well, you've got 2 players out, but the only 2 players left are going to be the players playing towards this site. So Tess is going to lose his life, and what looked like was going to be a bit of a dominance in terms of the life count right now is kind of a bit of a tougher, narrative, because these players are going to be able to converge onto the site, and with 16 seconds left, it doesn't matter the life count. It just matters about keeping the influence out. But Cam and T-shirt, they killed 2, only 2 players are left. You're going to stop the time. You hop on, those back 2 players are going to get taken out, and well, with only 1 player being in the back line, BMO, he can't really do this. It's a 1v12, and if he gets any more swords after the cut, he will get annihilated by an AR.
Yeah, a little long there of an answer for the likes of Georgia Southern, because we saw what they were going for. We saw them trying to push up the map. We saw them trying to find these trades, and we saw them trying to play for the site. But the way they were holding on to it was just very, very, very gambly. They were sitting there waiting for the last second. They were hoping that they found those 1 for 1 for 1 for 1. I think if Clemson found 1 or 2 3 pieces, they could have easily found that round. But I mean, even then, not 3 pieces, just a double, just a player with a weird cross. And that's what we did see. We saw TK up there towards top stairs. He didn't hold it down. He swerved out, gave Georgia State a little bit more, Georgia Southern a little bit more control on site, and said, now I'm going to swing back around. But they already know you're there because you don't have the advantage. You're not already watching the angle. You're swinging into it against top tier players here in the CCL. So already a repeat of history, though. Going right back to the defense, going to be Georgia Southern looking to go ahead and close things out, sitting at 2-0 here as they won the defense and the attack. And even then, they also won the first frag here in this 3rd round.
Exactly, and TK, unfortunately, was not able to get that player towards top boat, so they will be able to stay alive. That's Cam. The man's been absolutely having a great game for himself, but Chop is going to get taken down as well, and Well, they immediately decimate the defensive line. So here comes a two-stack. They're going to be able to grab that first stick. You even saw that last round. Even though, BMO threw his life away to, end the round, they still got that second tick. So even if we're still, considering round 5 to be a narrative here, that's plausible, they're still down. They're still very much down in terms of the ticks.
Yeah, they very much are. I mean, honestly, it would have to be almost a miracle situation to know that Georgia Southern wouldn't go ahead and win out this defense, because if it looks bad for them and they lose this game purely off ticks and they go on to the next round, they're still going to be right back on defense. And the thing is, that's just going to be a repeat of history if they lose defense right now. They have to gamble all or nothing right here, right now on this one round. And sure, it's going to be somewhat of a bounce back, and it's going to go all the way over to round 5 if things really do happen like that. But the problem is, Clemson have to go ahead and not only work a miracle in this round, but another one to back it up, to make sure they can get that round 5, make sure that standing gets there, make sure they have the control. But as it stands thus far, I think they're going to be very, very difficult to really do something like that. Not very difficult in this regards, though, as they sit at 24-18 in lives. They've already grabbed the entirety of A. It comes down to B control, and Classy pushing into spawn is really going to help them out with that.
Indeed so, and well, you're gonna look right here towards the top gun. It's gonna be Classy who gets out, breaks the line, hops in, and is gonna be able to hold it for a second. But Chava's gonna get some shots in, and this is what we talked about before, where the CDL, where it is penetrable. So that was a bit of a tough one, but hey, Cam pulls out the glide bomb from his back pocket, ends the time discovering, and now you can definitely get something going here as Testing gets a 2-piece, looks towards the top line, and he even gets the third with some help.
That old one swing of frags alone is just so detrimental, because honestly, this enough is able to give Georgia Southern that time to say, we can win this off the clock. This is such a massive area. There's going to be players looking for the flank. There's going to be players coming through the middle of the map. And you already have towards the back Testing set up to keep all those eyes out. So many Clemson players are sitting on towards that boat. You can see the control. It's like they're trying to go for A again, even though the side is even there. They're trying to wait for some kind of a siege, a last-second siege, albeit, so they can catch the likes of Georgia Southern off guard, keep on playing that slaying game, and really gamble on that because they know it's a last-ditch effort. But Choppa's finding that kill, alleviates the attention, thins down the lines, thins the hurt a little bit, and makes the job that much more doable. Also picking off BMO. These Clemson players have to stop peeking for literally no reason, because not only is time sitting at 7 seconds, they have 12 lives, and they're not going to even be able to touch this side.
Exactly, so there's not enough time to even get on. So Georgia Southern dominantly take this control 3-0 and the series 3-0. A very back and forth map 1 and a back and forth map 2, but map 3, they've learned what Clemson brings to the table. They dominate it and they destroy it. That is a much deserved win for Georgia Southern.
It most definitely is. I mean, looking at the way they played this entire game, they deserve map 1. Looking at how they performed and showing it was a 2v4, it was more of Clemson not deserving it than Georgia Southern really going ahead and winging it out. But map 2, we saw some real competition. We saw around 11. We saw that Clemson were able to pull some crazy things out, and they're not a bad team. I mean, they obviously have a positive record. Even after this loss here today, they're looking really good. But I think, honestly, I sat there and mentioned before we even went into this matchup, talking about, the lineup and talking about what Clemson could do and what they needed to here today, at least in the big terms of the season, because no matter what, both these teams are going to playoffs, that they need to go ahead and walk home with some notes. Sure, a win would be outstanding, but even then, a round 11 S&D, one of the most kind of, I would say, mentally taxing modes of them all, and also having yourself somewhat of a good run in that last round. This last round for control, Clemson had a lead for it. They had a definitive win in terms of on this attacking side. They just need to figure out what exactly fell through. They have plenty of things to go through and sit there and watch and say, what went wrong? What can we fix here? What can we do better? And how, or what do we do great that we can reinforce and really capitalize on? I think they have so many notes to be taken, and honestly, a really good opportunity here. It comes down to whether or not we can see them implement those changes here over the next couple of weeks in a very, very quick manner.
Indeed, so I agree with you 100%. There's going to be a lot of time for VOD review as we head towards that LCQ that, you're going to really need to strap down and, buckle up and get ready, because Georgia Southern, you gave them a fight, Clemson. We do have to applaud that. You did give them a fight overall. So you can definitely go home knowing that, hey, it was a 3-0, but it was a close 3-0. It wasn't exactly a dominant 3-0. Yeah, the control was a dominant 3-0, but, looking at those first 2 maps, you just ran out of tank towards the end, or ran out of gas in the tank, not run out of tank in the gas. You know what I mean? Exactly. But overall, this is a dominant game from Georgia Southern towards the end. Clemson definitely came through, showed us their tenacity and the strength of the spirit of the team. But overall, Georgia Southern will be taking it 3-0 tonight in terms of the score. So, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for watching me and Mick's coverage of tonight. We've got none other than McCormill and Cruisin' hopping on for the third game tonight. Bring them in with nice, warm showers of love. Tell McCormill he's a handsome man because he deserves it. So you, ladies and gentlemen, have a great night. We'll see you very soon. And don't go anywhere because this third game is coming up pretty soon.